I'd like to call to order the Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administration. Our first action item is approval of the minutes of September 7th, 2001. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion's carried. Thank you very much. I'd like for you to note that you've been giving a paper version of the most recent revised bylaws. The version on the iPad is not the proposed, or is not updated. Vice Chancellor Ginger Waters, please present items 1B1, amendments to the bylaws.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to present item 1B1, amendments to the bylaws of the Board of Trustees. The current bylaws have provisions that are outdated, unclear, do not conform to university practice, or duplicate provisions in the education law or the university's collective bargaining agreements. The General Counsel and Senior Vice Chancellor for Legal Affairs has drafted revised bylaws to rewrite or remove outdated provisions, delete unnecessary material, and conform with current practice. The proposed bylaws are clearer, easier to work with, and closer to the purpose of bylaws, which generally do not state policy or work rules, but are a statement of the rules and regulations governing the management of an organization. Notice of these proposed amendments have been provided previously to the Board on May 2nd, June 27th, and September 26th of 2011. Since that time, subsequent review and consultations have occurred, which resulted in additional changes. The Board is being requested to waive notice as to those changes in order to facilitate the committee's work this evening. Madam Chair, I present item 1B1 to the committee for its consideration.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chancellor. May I have a motion for approval? And we have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
But
Provost?
if I might,
Oh, I'm
just to
sorry.
begin, just to set the background to this has been a 3 to 4 year process in trying to revise and update the bylaws of the university. And at the same time, probably a couple of years ago, there was sort of a separate effort to look specifically at Article 15 having to do with students. And so those two projects sort of coalesced. We have sought to get input from across the university. There's been extensive consultation with the University Faculty Senate, with the University Student Senate. Also, I received a letter from the PSC, and there was a lengthy meeting and some additional correspondence with that organization as well. In the nature of these things, people see new things, have further comments as you go along. And so, although this was noticed originally for the June meeting, it was then put off till the September meeting and then put off till the November meeting of the board. And since the time that the notice was given, I guess for the June meeting, there have been continuing consultations and some revisions along the way at the request of mostly at the Faculty Senate and the Student Senate, and a couple points that my staff picked up and Ginger Waters' staff picked up along the way that pointing out some anomalies. So since the notice was given, there have been some changes, not for the most part very significant changes, but in a few instances there were. And so let me just spend a moment talking about the changes that you see in the paper copy that's in front of you, which is now the most recent draft, not the one, regrettably, that's on your computer screen. But these reflects the changes of the last really 2 weeks since notice went out to the committee as a result of meetings I had at the University Faculty Senate and the University Student Senate. I think, to summarize that all the changes took me 6.5 pages in the resolution. I want to try to keep this short. And so let me just highlight what I think are the 3 or 4 changes that are most significant from the version that you have on the computer screen. From my meeting with the Faculty Senate, I think the most important change in the last couple weeks had to do with the retention of Section 9.4 of the bylaws. It had been our goal to get out of the bylaws governance matters relating to particular campuses, because it seemed to us unnecessary in light of the fact that every college now had its own governance plan. And although it was useful to have some general default provisions in the bylaws, the specifics as they related to a particular college or professional school really didn't belong in the bylaws. However, there appears to be some uncertainty in the case of the graduate school whether all of the terms of Section 9.4 dealing with the graduate school governance are also in the graduate school governance plan. And in light of that uncertainty, it seemed the prudent thing to do to leave Section 9.4 as it was in terms of the graduate school and leave for another day what I would call the cleanup. That is to say, over the next weeks or months, we'll look at the two documents. To the extent that there are things that should be in the graduate school governance plan that are not there but are in the bylaws, I would recommend to the graduate school to take care of that through amendments to their governance plan. At that point, we could probably then do away with Section 9.4 of the bylaws, but that's for another day. Anyway, that was one significant change since the electronic version. The other changes had to do with Article 15 relating to students. So in the course of doing this, we had a draft that the University Student Senate had, as I understood it, approved back last February, and we then sort of thought we had put that piece of it to bed. But two things happened. One, we realized that there was a mission, and we made a change that I thought had been passed by the University Student Senate leadership, and I'm told by them that it had not been. For that, I apologize. And in addition, of course, recently we've had a new election and a new leadership come in, and the new leadership wanted to take a last look at this as well. And so because of those two factors, a meeting was requested, and we actually did it by conference call because it came up rather late in the day. And so on last Friday, we had a conference call with Corey Provost on the phone, the outgoing University Student Senate president, and Kafui Kwaku, the incoming president. And there were two really substantive changes. There was some other minor stuff, but I think two substantive changes that I want to highlight. One had to do with the role of the student organization, student government, with respect to creating clubs and monitoring student activities. The language had read that that was within their control. The practice, of course, had always been subject to the general powers of the college. I thought to clarify that by adding language to that effect. The representatives of the University Student Senate thought, well, it's worked the way it is for a long time. It's not been a problem. It hasn't confused anybody. It appears to diminish the role of the university, of the student organizations or governments on the campuses to change the language. We'd prefer you leave it the way it was, and I acceded to that request. And then the second change, and this is one that actually was a change since the February draft that they approved, was there had been a provision relating to what I'll call the decertification of student organizations. And it was a provision we took out in the draft that had been originally circulated because it had provisions, terms in it that were really unconstitutional, that appeared to regulate speech and press. And so we had taken the provision out, and that had been approved by the University Student Senate. And then in a conversation with Dave Fields, the counsel to the chancellor, who's been around a long time and is obviously a former student leader himself, he said, you know, you threw out the baby with the bathwater. The provision that existed for decertifying clubs might not have been a good provision, but you ought to have some procedure there. By the way, footnote, it's never happened in 40 years. Nobody can recall this ever happening, but theoretically it could happen. And so we drafted a procedure for, in effect, decertifying clubs. We thought it was a reasonable procedure. I thought it had been run by the University Student Senate, but apparently it hadn't been. And regrettably, in the procedure we drafted, we sort of left the student government out of the mix. And the USS leadership came and said, you know, we are the ones responsible for creating student organizations. We should have the central role if they're going to be decertified. As soon as it was pointed out to me, I agreed that was absolutely right. And so that change in, I think it's 15.2C, appears now. So those are the principal changes that have occurred in the last 2 weeks. The other changes are all summarized in my overly long resolution or explanation to the resolution. But I think we've gotten to the point now where we're all on the same page. I can't promise that there isn't some other inadvertent error, but in the nature of things, we'll correct those if and when we find them. But I do think after many months, not to say years of work, we're at a point where we can finally get ourselves bylaws that is usable and that doesn't have 70 or 80% of the language be things that are outdated and that nobody actually refers to anymore. So that's I've said my piece.
That's the short version.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you on behalf of all of us. As we know, cleaning up bylaws is a very arduous task, and so congratulations and sticking in there, hanging in there, and with all of those who did there. Sorry?
Yeah, I do want to thank Vice Chancellor Schaefer as well as the Central Office of Student Affairs. I think they did a real good job in trying to keep us as best in the loop and bearing with us as we went through the bylaws of Section 15 to make changes also. The Senate is 99.9% comfortable with everything in there. There's just one part which we were waiting for a little bit more clarification on, which is on page 75, Section D, which I was speaking to Vice Chancellor Schaefer a moment ago about. It was really just centered around the appeals process based on the language that's in that clause.
So let me speak to that. Thank you very much for calling that to my attention, Corey. Section 15.D is for the most. This is on page 75.
Right.
Is for the most part unchanged. There is one sentence that is added, which is, you see in blue underlining, and that was added to reflect what has been very long-standing practice of the university, that the decisions with respect to the certification of election results by the Student Election Review Committee can be appealed to the president. And that has been the case for quite a long time, pursuant to a memo that was issued by one of my predecessors as general counsel. And so we thought it advisable to make that clear in the bylaw itself. Corey has raised the question of, well, what is the procedure? And the procedure is outlined in the memo, and as I understand it, is pretty clear practice, is that if someone wishes to appeal the decision of the Student Election Review Committee to the President, they basically write a letter to the President. The President invites a response from the Student Election Review Committee, and then he decides the appeal on those letters. What I'd like to do, nobody has any interest, I don't think, in changing that practice. I think it has worked well and fairly. And so whichever will turn out to be easier, either we will add an additional sentence to that effect before this goes to the board, or in the alternative, I can just issue kind of an explanatory memo after the bylaws are adopted that the intent was to continue that prior practice. But I do think one way or the other, Corey's point is well taken, and that we should make clear what that procedure is.
Thank you. Could address your...
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I just want to thank the Vice Chancellor for his consultation and general patience with the Faculty Senate. and especially recognize the work of Jay Weiser, who was on the executive committee, who has pored over this document and probably had to get stronger eyeglasses as a result, with a kind of tenacity that I can only admire. I can't, frankly, I've just come back from Europe after being at a conference, so I'm not altogether sure what part of the globe I'm on, but I can't, frankly, agree or disagree. I think this is what we want, because I honestly can't read it anymore. It's beyond my capacity to grasp. I've read it enough. I mean, I'm basically so confused, it's embarrassing. But I had a call from somebody at the PSC asking for a delay, and I said, absolutely not. I can't spend another minute on it. But if they want to, they can call you directly, okay? Yeah. So this is a kind of heads up, and I'm hiding under the table because I'm not delivering messages from anybody.
If I might, because you remind me of something that I intended to do in my opening remarks, I also want to thank Jay for his input, but I especially want to thank one of my attorneys who's here today, Kathy Raymond, who's really the primary coordinator and author of this document. And literally, it's been between 3 and 4 years of work. She's had to consult with a lot of different constituencies, and there was a lot of back and forth, and of course one group would suggest A, and the other group would say not A or half A, and it was left to Kathy to try to reconcile these. So she's really done yo woman's work, is that a word, on this, and I want to publicly acknowledge her very good work.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank just Rick and Kathy and Sandy for slogging through all this and being very, very patient, because it is a very technical, high-paying experience, and it's, we really do appreciate their sitting down and working through all of this.
Yeah, just a quick question, because in regard to Article 15, I believe since we also have a committee for student affairs, I just was wondering why it didn't go through that committee first before it came to this committee.
There was an earlier version. The bylaws are really under the jurisdiction of the Committee on Faculty, Staff and Administration. And had this only been a revision to Article 15, which it started out to be, we would have, and in fact did go to both committees. We actually reported to the Committee on Student Affairs, it must have been about a year ago, and we went through in detail what the proposal was as an information item, because we weren't ready for approval yet. And then when it, when the two trains linked up and it became an overall revision of the bylaws, it seemed appropriate to bring it to the Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administrations.
Any other questions? There being none, it's been moved in second. May I have all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Congratulations. Vice Chancellor Waters will now introduce item 1B2, the revisions to the guidelines for discontinuance of instructional staff.
Item 1B2 concerns proposed amendments to the guidelines and procedures for discontinuance of instructional staff mandated by financial exigency, normally known as retrenchment. This is a direct result of the changes to the bylaws that we just passed. The guidelines were last amended by the board on September 28, 1998. Some minor technical changes are being proposed, which are detailed in the explanation. But the reason this resolution is being presented for your consideration today is to incorporate into the guidelines provisions relating to retrenchment that are being removed from the bylaws pursuant to the resolution in item 1B1 that was just discussed. These provisions relate to the rights of tenured faculty and lecturers with certificates of continuous employment whose appointments have been retrenched in terms of transfer efforts within the college and preferred eligible lists for recall. Let me emphasize that we are not making any changes to those protections. Instead, we are moving them from the bylaws and putting them into the retrenchment guidelines, which is where they are appropriately placed.
Where are
Madam Chair, I present item 1B2 to the committee for its consideration.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? And there being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now call on Dean Mogalusko, my favorite. Mogalusko.
Thank you, Trustee Beal. In late 2007, staff from the Helena Rubinstein Foundation approached Surrey Deitch University Dean for Continuing Education with the idea of funding a CUNY scholarship program for adults who are looking to take continuing ed courses and certificates to make themselves more competitive for jobs. Since then, the foundation has awarded CUNY $50,000 per year for scholarships for adult workers, many of whom are unemployed. As the foundation, which was established by Ms. Rubinstein in 1953, now goes through a process of closing its doors and distributing its remaining assets, it has chosen to make a $1 million gift to CUNY to endow this scholarship fund. In recognition of this generous gift, the university would like to name the fund the Helena Rubinstein Continuing Education Scholarship Fund for Career Advancement. I would like to acknowledge the work of Dean Deitch for getting this gift. We're enormously grateful to the foundation for the award and for recognizing the importance of supporting adult students.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
President Regina Perucci? Amendments to the governance plan of Kingsborough Community College.
Yes. Simply, the Kingsborough believes that it benefits significantly from an experienced cadre of adjunct faculty who attend departmental meetings, avail themselves of faculty development, and participate in college activities of all kinds. The proposed change in Kingsborough's constitution acknowledges those contributions through enfranchisement in our governance system. So the college also benefits from retired faculty who continue to show an active interest in the college. And therefore, we've added three members to our college governance council. And those are one retired faculty member will be appointed by me and approved by the council. And there will be 3 seats added to the council for adjunct faculty members. The other change in the Constitution is a review of it's sort of a definition of the review of the college mission, goals, and objective statements every 5 years by our Strategic Planning and Budget Committee, as was suggested in our last Middle States review almost 5 years ago. So we're making that an actual change in our Constitution.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you very much. President Jeremy Travis. Good evening. Just a point of information. I see this brand-new building. When is it?
We're having our official opening on Wednesday this week. A lot of celebration. Classes start Monday next week in the new building. Lots of movement, lots of people installing their computers in new offices, and it's very exciting.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you for asking. And thank you to all of you for your support. I'm here today to actually, in connection with the new building, ask for the support of this committee for the first ever naming opportunity at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So we're asking for your support to name the faculty terrace of the new building after Elizabeth and Arthur Moranti. Mr. Moranti is a member of the board of the trustees of our foundation. He's been a very active member. He's a member of the executive committee and a member of the campaign committee, and has become supporter of John Jay in many ways, and his wife has also been very active in the work of the committee. They've made a pledge that includes within it a first down payment on the endowment of the Vera Fellows Program, which we've established to honor this new program for internships for our students. And we're asking for the support of this committee and the board for the naming of the Moranti Faculty Terrace on the plaza of the new building.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure we'll have a lot more naming
This is the first of many.
opportunities. I'm sure.
I want to be a frequent visitor.
We hope to
And
see
we
that.
welcome you here.
See you on Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
President Meiskens.
I am back again with the naming opportunity. This is for a scholarship fund with the initial gift of $100,000 for Barry and Evelyn Strauss. Evelyn is an alum of the college. That's part one. Part two of the request is we'd like to name one of the many classrooms on the campus in their honor. That, however, would require, I just learned, approval from our academic senate. So if I could indulge you, I would like to ask that you approve this with that condition. I've talked with the chair of the Senate, they'll be happy to do it, but we did not dot that I and cross that T. So we're asking for your support to name the scholarship fund and also to name the classroom.
We will amend our, we did to say subject to the approval of the council.
Yes.
May I have a motion for approval?
So moved with that amendment to it.
Seconded?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries. Thank you very much. May I ask Vivian Todini, Executive Director of the Institutional Advancement, to introduce items 1B7 and 1B8.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Trustee Bill. Well, I'm happy to be part of this trend of naming. As you know, CUNY Law is moving to 2 Court Square, and thank you everybody for their support on that. Chancellor Goldstein just left, but obviously he was instrumental. This presents so many opportunities for us, including naming space. And Brianne Hamill is a longtime supporter of her husband Thomas Hamill of CUNY, other campuses aside from the law school. And Brianne is a judge in New York, and she's an alum. And we would like to name the Hamill Family Clinic Conference Room on their behalf through a generous donation.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Madam
Second.
Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries. And you're invited to come back often for more naming.
I have just another one.
Oh, right, that was quick.
I'll take you up on that, and I'm back already. The second one is we have another donor who wishes to remain anonymous. She's also an alum, and she would like to name the Solomon Slackman Classroom in honor of her Russian-born grandfather in celebration of immigrants' achievements in this country.
Fabulous. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I still look forward to seeing you again. Provost Martin Moskowitz, on behalf of City College.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're seeking the committee's approval for naming of a chair in the Sophie Davis School of Biomedical Education in honor of major donors, Anna and Irving Brodsky. The name of the chair that we're requesting is the Anna and Irving Brodsky Clinical Chair. The chair is meant to allow us to recruit a clinician, and indeed we have made an offer to Dr. Rosa Lee, who has accepted our offer and will be the first incumbent of this chair. The donors after whom the chair is named have contributed $1 million, and this was matched by by Mr. Alan Davis, who was the son of the original namers of the Sophie Davis School. And so we're seeking approval of the board to name this particular chair, the Anna and Irving Brodsky Clinical Chair.
Thank you very much. I move for the approval of this. May I have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries.
Thank you.
And while you're there, I understand that you have a bylaw waiver request for an appointment at City College.
That is correct, Madam Chair, and I've asked the Dean of the Spitzer School of Architecture, Professor Rinaldi, to join me in case there are technical issues that come up. In a word, we would like to appoint Tony Griffin as professor at the Spitzer School of Architecture and as a director of the J. Max Vaughn Jr. Architecture Center. The nature of the waiver is the fact that according to the bylaws, a professor in architecture should have either a Master of Architecture or be licensed. And Professor Griffin has a Bachelor of Architecture, and her licensure has lapsed because her career was in planning, where licensure is not required. However, she makes up for this by a long career and a very distinguished and creative career in planning, which we believe more than compensates for this lacuna. If there are other details, I would refer them to the Dean of Architecture. Our motion is to grant us this waiver, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I move the granting of the waiver. May I have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Any questions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am.
We will now have the Chancellor's University report.
No, we're done.
Oh.
You have my report.
No, thank you.
I would just like to follow up on a report that I have given in the past on the diversity study that we did. For those of some of you may know that we have received a report from the consultants, and we're in the process of reviewing it, and the Chancellor announced at the last board meeting that he was establishing an ad hoc committee to actually look at the report, have it inform an action plan that we will be putting together. The committee has been established and will be brought together for the first time on November 7th, where they will look at the report that was issued by the consultants, but more importantly, use that report to inform an action plan that will go forward regarding actions that the university will take in the area of diversity. So I just wanted to let you know that we are moving forward on that. We're hoping that we'll have a recommendation, many recommendations for the Chancellor by the beginning of the spring semester.
Thank you. And I'd like to take the last to welcome our new chair designate. And I'm going to ask you to pronounce your name.
Tafui Kwaku.
Welcome. And with that, I'd like to thank Corey for your many semesters of working with us, and I'm sure you will continue to be engaged with the university now and as an alum. And we welcome and thank you for your
Yeah, may I, Ginger, I sent in a name for that task force. Do you have any idea what's happened to it?
He did accept. Professor
No,
Holden, I believe his name is.
Nobody told me. I just
We
wanted...
just got it today, actually.
Oh,
the acceptance.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? There being none, we are adjourned.